What's going on, man? You can hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Can you see me?
No, I only see
Not
your
yet.
name on the screen. I think I'm
All
seeing
right,
that.
we
All right, yeah,
good.
there we go. Now I see you.
What's up, man? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, not much, man. Introduce yourself to the show here. We're on WSJU Radio, St. John's University, Sports and Hip Hop with DJ Mad Max. And the guest tonight is.
Yes, my name is Kolo. That's Kolo. I'm a rapper, musician, producer from the state of Georgia, around the Atlanta area. Yeah, I've been doing it for 4 years now. Crazy enough to say, it's a passion of mine, and yeah, I'm just here to talk music.
Yep, yep, no
Yeah.
doubt. So, how old were you when you really started to write raps?
Okay, so technically, I started writing raps as early as I want to say maybe about 12 or 13. I like write back in the Kindle days. I had like an Amazon Kindle that I used to read books on and I'd write raps on it. But it wasn't anything crazy. I wouldn't say it was serious. It's just something you're doing, you just want to see if you can make raps and stuff. I don't think it really got serious until, in college at points I would write verses here and there. And then along the line I was in grad school. I went to grad school and randomly I just started like just having this itch to do music. I'd make beats and I wouldn't really like them. So I think for like 2, 3 months, I just said, you know what, I'm gonna just work on just rapping and just trying to do it. And that was around, I was 22 at the time. That was in 2016. And so yeah, somehow I got here. I don't know how, but I got here, man.
You're
Yeah.
here, man. I think it's because of your hard work, and something that I got to compliment you on is your bars. It's
Yeah.
puzzling to me the fact that you're from Atlanta because that you don't have Atlanta sound.
Right,
You
right,
have that New York hip hop sound, which I love,
right.
and that's so unique in this day and age. It's so little out here. Even in New York, it's very little. You only have like a handful of rappers that still actually rap. So,
Mhm.
what attracted you to that style of rap, where you're actually poetic and lyrical?
Yeah, man. I think so I when I started like making when I started listening to music, like I had like some like pop R&B influences early on in terms of just like what I was listening to. But the first rapper I really ever dove into was 50 Cent. Like so I was listening to a lot of 50. My uncle was playing 50. And then like it really wasn't until I got older that I just like rap in general. But I think the blog era where you had like, Cole, Kendrick, Drake, obviously, Big Crit, Wale, people like that were making noise. I feel like, and I was in like high school at that time. That's
Mhm.
kind of like the era where I kind of like was like, ah, this is it. This is music for me. So I think that is kind of what has made an influence on kind of the style that I have. I really love all kinds of music, so I try to do a bit of everything, but I really love working with like working hard on my bars and just making sure like I'm really saying something. And I think the power of words is beyond. I don't even think we understand power of words, even as an artist. I don't think I truly understand the power of it, but I do know that it has a lot of power, and I don't take that power lightly. So yeah, man, it's not necessarily a thing of like I'm trying to sound like I'm from here or do here. It's just that I feel like I love NY hip hop stuff. I love Atlanta trap stuff. I love, yeah, I mean, I even love like Houston, like slow down music, even though I don't make
Yeah.
it. But I love things from everywhere. So I think when that happens, you're bound to take things from different places.
Mhm. Now, growing up during that time, especially in high school, when you're listening to Wale and Drake and all that, there was an
Right.
interesting comment made by Charlemagne today. I saw on Instagram with the Drake era being over. Do you think Drake's era is
Right.
over?
Uh nah, I don't think so, man. I don't know, maybe sure, like it might not be the Drake is the new guy that is like this, the only guy we're paying attention to in a singular way. But at the very same time, he's one of those people that's transcended to the point where Drake's run is over when Drake is over. So I don't really see a thing where it's like Drake won't be the biggest guy Drake will still be the biggest guy for pretty much as long as he really wants to do it. He's a guy that's positioned himself in a certain way, makes music that caters to a large, like a huge variety of people. So you kind of just can't come be a new Drake unless you check a lot of boxes. So No, I don't think it's over. I do think that sure, like people like Drake don't necessarily have as much to prove anymore. Drake is Drake. People that are up and coming, that are in the spotlight. I know that I think in that interview he brought up Baby, for example.
Mhm.
I think Baby is has been killing it and is in a position where it's like, okay, he might have something to prove because he's like more young in it and he has a discography to build. But someone like Drake, I don't know. It's over when he says it's over. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's a few things that I disagree with out there when they call Drake the greatest artist ever, because I can
Right.
name a dozen other artists who I think are better than him.
Right. I mean that's very fair. I mean, I think with that, I think there'll always be somebody. I think there's always gonna be when you're talking on that scale. There's just so many artists. Like if you're saying greatest artist ever, and you're including like obviously like Michaels, the Princes,
Yeah.
the Marvin Gayes. You're including a lot of people that makes it like a huge conversation. So yeah, that's a tough thing to say
Yeah.
to say like this one person is this. But no, I definitely respect what he's done and yeah, he's definitely a legend for sure.
Yeah. As you mentioned before as well, just growing up listening to 50 Cent. What was your go-to
Right.
50 Cent album? Was it Get Rich or Die Trying, The Massacre, or even Before I Self-Destruct?
Right. So for me, the whole 50 thing started with the massacre. I don't know where I was. Maybe I was coming over from school. I don't know what it was. My
Mhm.
uncle was playing it and he was just playing the album and I could just hear it coming through the door. Like I was like, what is this? So I go into his room and that's all she wrote. So it was the massacre first. Obviously, Get Rich or Die Trying is best album. But the massacre is what grabbed me. I think obviously being like I lived in Europe at the time, so like
Okay.
I think what captured me about that is it's authentic storytelling, but I think it's like it's such a vivid description of a life that was so far away from mine. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're watching like a movie character, like where it feels real, but you're like, yo, I this is nothing that I can relate to. It's like some superhero type of figure. You know what I'm saying? So, I think that's what grabbed me about that. And nah, I think he also was one of those rappers that like, cause I was listening to a lot of like pop and R&B stuff before him,
Mhm.
but he had the catchy melodies, he had the hooks. So it's like this perfect marriage where somebody like me who wasn't super into hip hop yet would still be drawn in because it has that type of flavor of something that's catchy and it can draw you in. Yeah, so yeah, nah, 50 was huge for my. I mean, he's pretty much the guy that got me into hip hop because then it's just like it's like diving into the ocean, man. Like once you just like it's a wrap. Now you're just finding everything else, and then it's like, yeah, this is it.
Yep. If I
Right,
agree with that, I think 50 Cent's best work is obviously Get Rich or Die Trying, but I always
right,
prefer The Massacre. I think The Massacre
right.
is better in my opinion because I like the
Wow.
album. In My Hood was good. This is 50, Gatman and
Yep.
Robin, Piggy Bank.
Yeah. Right. It's got to. I think it's underrated just because of how, you know, I guess Get Rich or Die Trying is what everybody always brings up to a sense. The Massacre is kind of like underrated in that sense. All the
Yeah.
songs you mentioned, along with even like the Hate It or Love It. I know it was on like it was on Games album too, but it was on the bonus version of this one.
Yeah.
So that's how
Yeah.
I always connected to this album too. It had what's
Candy
it
Shop.
called? Yeah, God Gave Me Style, and then it was
I'm
there was
supposed to
another
die
joint.
tonight.
I was supposed to die tonight. Yeah, man. See that the massacre was big for me. And I think I also liked the production on it. Like it was
Yeah.
a more of like a soulful type of like vibe and everything. So yeah, no, I really like that project.
Yeah. Guns Come Out. He had a lot on there. Disco
Right. It had a
Inferno.
lot. He had a lot, man.
Yeah.
He had a lot, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I don't know. I think it's better than Get Rich or Die Trying, in
Wow.
my opinion.
Right.
I think it
Right.
is.
Right.
It's like Nas's Illmatic to It Was Written. I think It Was Written it was
Mm,
better, but
mm,
Illmatic's always going to be the number one to
right.
people.
What's the best? So what's your favorite song off It Was Written?
It Was Written. I really like I Gave You Power.
I knew you were gonna say that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic though. Like I think when you come across songs like that are that special that because I feel like it's very hard to do conceptual songs like that
Yeah.
and there be like either no holes, being not corny and just very like it's just such a well put together concept, and it's kind of a simple concept when you think about it. But of course, only Nas could like execute it and put it together in that way. But
Yeah.
yeah, now it was written Illmatic. The more I grow up, it's a good debate. Obviously, Illmatic is just so iconic, but yeah, man, it was written in Illmatic. Is That's where people say Illmatic is the only Nas classic and stuff like that. I just be like, yeah, that I don't get it. I don't get it, but that's just me.
I think Nas has 3 to 4 classics.
Right.
It's debatable because I
What
like
would
I
what would
Am.
you add? Yeah, what would you add onto that
I
apart from
like
just
I
like
Am. I think Stillmatic was great. I even like
right,
God's
Stillmatic?
Son.
I think still for me, the other three that are in the conversation are Stillmatic, like you said, Godson, and then I think a sleeper where maybe it's because he's older in age, but Life is Good is a very good
Yeah.
project, man. Life is Good is
Amy
really good. I
Winehouse
would
was
say
on that. Yeah.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
I would say those are like the five Nas albums that I like. Yo, these are very, very there, and even the Lost Tapes too. He has a lot. He has a lot, man. He has a lot.
Yeah. The Lost Tapes, the first one was good. The second one was all right.
Right,
I
right, right,
preferred the
right,
first one. I think
right,
King's Disease was a great album.
right, right, right. Nah, that was a great album too. Hit Boy's been going crazy, man. Hit Boy's been going crazy this year.
He has been.
Yeah,
He's been producing a lot of great albums out there, bringing
right,
back the real sound of hip hop and
right.
with the beats and that's the thing that interests me about your beats as well is that do you produce for yourself? Because you mentioned before.
Yeah. I produce a lot of my own stuff. I don't produce every single song. I produced all but two on this latest album. All but two of them. So yeah, I produce most of the stuff.
Now, how old were you when you started to learn how to produce?
Ah, that was freshman year of college.
Mhm.
I was 18. Man, I need to pull up some of those old beats. They are terrible, man. I don't know if you've ever heard some of like producers when they play their early. Goodness gracious, you just be listening. It's like listening to like the worst, like looking at the worst picture of yourself as a kid or something like that. It's just like listening to your old version. But nah, I started freshman year of college. I was just listening to a lot of like um I like 40, Drake's producer.
Mhm.
He's one of the people where I would just be listening. I'm like, man, I want to make some stuff like that. Like I remember in Tuscan Leather Beat, and I was like, man, I wish I could make this. And
Yeah.
then Dahi is also another one where, I remember like the beat, the Money Trees beat for Kendrick, and I was like, man, I wish I could make something like this. So it was just more so the curiosity of people doing it. It wasn't like I said I was gonna be a producer. It was more so like, man, it's crazy that they can do this. Like I want to try and do this, see what I can do. And so yeah, I just started making beats, and I've been making beats longer than I've been rapping, honestly. And beats in a way, I make more beats. I've made more beats than I've made raps, but I would say by far. Beat
Mhm.
beat making. Although I consider myself more of a rapper in a weird way, beat making is kind of like the where it all starts in a sense. It's almost like everything starts with just making a beat. So yeah, it's fun, man. I don't know what I'd be doing without it, honestly. Right.
What software did you start out with?
I started off with Logic. Great program. I have nothing bad to say about Logic. And then about I want to say maybe it's about to be 3 years. 3 years ago, I got Ableton, and I ain't changed ever since, man. Ableton is it took a while to learn. That's the thing with these type of things. A lot of times the learning curve is tough. So you start learning, and you're like, I don't know. But once it kind of clicks, it's a wrap. And but I would say I always say with people like there's no right program. There's no Ableton, FL, Logic are the obviously all the most popular. Do whatever you want. Like whatever works for you is whatever works. So it don't really matter at the end of the day.
Yeah. Is it all computer made with your beats, or do you actually have this MPC or some type of drum machine that you
Right.
bring the beats out on?
Funny thing about me, and that's why I tell a lot of people like my timing is actually horrible.
Mhm.
Funny thing about me, not horrible to the fact that I don't have any timing whatsoever, but it's not tight enough to be like for me to be crazy with the NPC or anything.
Yeah.
Um, I do a lot of just like drawing the notes in, doing the notes in. I can tap rhythms and stuff, but it's all about kind of like moving stuff in. A lot of my stuff is very sample based. I just like samples, even if it's like samples that are not from straight from a vinyl record or from an old record. It'll be samples that I find online and some stuff in the pack and stuff like that. Everything I do is pretty much sample based for the most part, just because I like that. That's kind of like my comfort zone. So yeah, I do a lot of that, but I wish I could be better with the MPC. But for me, it's less about how it looks and more so about what I can get. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if I can get the product I want, I really don't care how I get there as long as I can get there consistently. So yeah.
Yeah, it's better to just do it the easiest way possible that works best
Right.
for you, because if you start making it on something that's difficult, it's either not going to get done or it's not going to sound right in the end.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you just want to be comfortable doing what you do. And it's just the most comfortable way to get to the destination you want to get to.
Mhm.
Right.
Before we get into the last manifesto, I want to get into what you're doing with YouTube and all these
Right.
series on
Right,
social
right.
media and everything. Where'd you get the
Yeah.
idea to do that with the rap freestyles and everything?
Yeah, I was just so I moved in the early or late 2018, early 2019. I moved to my uncle's basement to start making music. Not that I lived there, but I make music there. So he gave me a space and I was just like started making music there. And I got to a point where like it was like a thing where I was looking at the landscape of things. I was looking at people doing a lot of just like rapping and consistently putting out stuff. I looked at them and I just looking at things. I was like, yeah, I need something to like get myself more out there to be more consistent. I was in the basement, and before I knew it, I just came up with a damn free basement. And I was like, all right, I did one. I did like I planned 5 episodes. I did 5 episodes, and from the jump, I knew it was something that had gotten me more attention than what I gotten before. Usually, I just don't. I would drop things, but it wasn't getting that much kind of traction. But this, where it was like you could see my face, you see me with the microphone, and I was doing it over beats that were current at the time and stuff like that. Like even 21 Savage, Can't Live Without It. I was like rapping over that type of stuff, and just a bunch of just like current beats, just like rapping over it, and things started going. So yeah, man, I just started, and that really kind of grew things because I kind of became more known for that than even the music at my own songs at some point,
Mhm.
because it was like that was something to identify me with. So yeah, I'm gonna bring that back and just other YouTube series. I have another one called Flip Drill where I'm just gonna be like flipping like TV show samples, all kinds of creative, unique stuff. Just kind of just trying to be consistent and just give people creative ways, just creative ways to like introduce music to people and give music to people for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're all our own best critic, as they all say.
Right.
Would you say that out of all your freestyles that you did during your free basement freestyles, which ones were the best ones? If you had to pick a top three.
The tough one. Okay, so the funny thing is the the later ones are always my favorite ones. It's
Mhm.
always like that with everything I do. My most recent stuff is always the ones I feel the best about. I don't even know if it's like a bias thing, but I think sometimes it's connected to the fact that you think you keep on getting better, but it's also just like it's a weird thing. So out of the early ones, the only one that would make it would be for me was I did a middle child one. I think that's episode 6. I did a middle child one that was a turning point. I also did. I think it was one over the hot beat, Young Thug and Gunna. I don't know what episode that is. It's 20 something, but that one is another one. And then I did one over Miss Jackson, classic beat, obviously. And that is in the 30 range, 31, 32. I don't know. But it's around there. And that one is like one of the ones where I was like, sometimes you look at some ones where you're like, okay, yeah, like I'm proud of this one. So yeah, I would say that's a top 3, but it could change. I could watch the whole series from front to back now and change all of them. Who knows?
And you're bringing back free basement next year.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
For bringing it back, and then it'll be back. I think it'll be back and better. I feel like I've gotten better with a lot of things. I think it'll look a lot cleaner and a lot like sleeker too. So now I'm excited, man. It'll just be just back to being consistent, man, and consistently putting things out. So it'll be exciting.
Mhm. Are you having anyone help you out with the visuals and making it look cleaner?
Right. With the free basement, that's still kind of mostly in the planning. I've definitely been working with a lot of people. I worked with Keats. He's a guy from New York that we worked on a few videos recently for the album. So that was dope. I worked with a talented guy named Seth Clark. He's from here. He did like a video off a song called Prologue off the album. So I've been working with more people, just trying to get like the visuals better and the visual cleaner and stuff. And I'm sure that will translate to the free basement stuff for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's looking forward to it. Where could people purchase the T-shirt and the merch? Or is that just
Yeah, man.
your own
It's
T-shirt?
just
Is
for
that your
now.
own?
Yeah, it's my own, man. But I've started with merch. We're gonna be rolling it out early next year. Um, I've done a few giveaways, but nothing anything crazy. But we plan to have merch coming early next year for sure. For sure.
Has any industry people reached out to you who's caught wind of your freestyles?
Not necessarily directly. I've had some situations where people have DM me or said some stuff like, "Oh, this is dope" or anything. One of the weirdest thing I did like a freestyle. I was at the A3C concert. Yeah, that was 2019, and I dropped a freestyle to the London. And T minus was the one that made that beat. I don't know if he commented. I think he commented. He might have, but I know he liked it, and that was like a moment for me. I was like, man, I'd love to make something with T minus. So that was like one of the best moments where I was like, I remember that. I was like, I was just randomly somewhere. I see he liked it and everything. So nah, I mean, you have little moments like that, but I'm sometimes people kind of like just watch from behind the scenes and I know of some people that have said things, but nothing too crazy. Yeah.
Let's get into the album, The Last
For sure, for
Manifesto.
sure, for sure.
When did you start making it?
That's about, let me see, 2018, man. So I had like three EPs. I had Prelude, New Beginnings, and Purest Release. These are the first three EPs I made when I started making music, and the EPs were good for me, but it was like a thing where I was always making EPs because I knew I wasn't ready to do a full length project. And by 2018, I realized I'd hit a point where it's like, nah, I need a new challenge. I need to do something bigger and something, kind of just more. And I started the process, and like it was a few batches of songs. Like it was like New Beginnings 2, which ended up being on one of the Basement Files Volume 1, which is the EP before the album dropped. I made like it was a song called Same Ones that ended up being released way like 2019, stuff that I made that didn't end up making it, but it was the beginning process. And Free Basement almost like kick started the process again, because once Free Basement started, I'd gotten better. I got into this consistent zone where I was just like, all right, it's time. So in 2019, summer of 2019, I kind of went on this run. I made the song Meal Ticket, Prologue, I want to say Pull Up. There's just a bunch of songs that are on the album. Maybe I would say like not half, but a bunch of the album was made then. Finished most of the rest of it in 2020 and just put it together. And yeah, man, it was I took my time with it. It was a process, but I took my time and proud of it, man. Proud of it, because it took a while, but it was one of those things where it had to take a while for me to like get something that had that type of substance and that type of content.
Yep. I'd say my favorite song off the album is Infinity Bars. That was a good
Yes,
one.
sir. Yes,
I like
sir.
that
That's
one.
my favorite. A lot of people
Yeah.
haven't been saying it, so anytime people say that, that makes me feel good, man. That's my favorite, man. That's my favorite.
I know I
Yeah.
promoted the story with the show today with Black America. That's an important
Right.
song too,
Right. Right. Right.
especially with
Yeah. No,
everything
that's
going on right now. Yeah.
right. 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 That's an important song, man. Like it's I don't know. I think it's important, and I think it's important to always discuss like the context of basically African American music throughout time, not just as it's I mean it's reflective of African American history in general, but especially like in terms of like ownership and label relations and how a lot of like African American artists have been used over the course of time, still
Mm.
being used. So to me, it's an important song, but it's a the first half is like a take on a song that's like more confident and more boasting, and then the second half is more introspective, which is a good balance that I like.
With the mentioning and what you say on the song about
Yeah.
the labels, would you ever sign to a label, or are you going to stay independent your whole career?
Yeah, I think for me, it's like for the meantime, I have an independent mindset mostly because I think it's just important to build leverage. I think I am always going to be open to whatever. There will never be somebody that offers me something for a label where I won't pay attention. But I think by time those things start to happen, you want to be in a position of like power, not a position of wanting something for somebody or needing somebody for something, because that's when they can just take advantage. So I think I'll always be open to anything. It's never going to be a thing of like, oh, I have to be independent. It just has to kind of make sense. And I think if it turns out that I don't ever have to sign a label, okay. I mean, that's what I don't do, but I won't do it. But if the opportunity presents itself and it kind of works for what I want for my career, yeah, I won't have a problem with that at all. Either way.
If the offer were to come along, what do you want the label to do for you? What do you think is the most
Right.
important thing as an artist? Is it the promotion?
Right.
Is it the concerts? What is it you
Right.
think in your mind?
Well, I think the label a label would only work as an extension of what we already have. So I wouldn't expect the label to suggest anything on the music or creative side.
Yeah, I don't think
I
so.
wouldn't even I wouldn't even be I wouldn't even literally I wouldn't even be um interested in like necessarily promotion kind of tactics necessary. Like I'm not even necessarily looking for that. It's more so, the label is a certain machine that is connected to certain places, can get you certain placements. Like even if I was at a certain label, for example, they could get me the placements that a lot of people do where they release an album, they get a placement on Times Square. That's something that is I wouldn't even say it's necessarily impossible to do independent, but
Mhm.
it's impossible to do independent on a lower level. Like you have to be a high. I would imagine that you still have to have a crazy amount of funding just to get that placement. So it's like certain things that are more out of reach in terms of funding and pushing is where a label would come in. But in terms of like music creation, in terms of distribution, in terms of publishing, in terms of merch, those are all things that you don't even need a label to do. So a label wouldn't really that wouldn't be the point of a label. But the label would just be extending something we've already built.
Do you think labels are going to be non-existent in a few years? I keep seeing everyone going independent. Everyone's
Right.
saying stay independent, do what
Right.
you have to do on your own, carve
Yeah.
out a lane for yourself.
Right.
Even people who are just leaving these big record label companies,
Right.
do you think they're going to be gone in a few years?
I think the labels will just evolve. I think the label will turn into something else. The label used to be this whole thing where they do everything for you. So it would be like a thing where not only are they telling you what type of record to make, they're pressing the CDs, they're sending the CDs
Yep.
out, they're doing the promotional. You're just like a cog in the machine, right? Nowadays, because of the internet and everything, it's kind of changed and the requirements have changed. So people are just more self they rely on themselves more than anybody else. So basically I would say that nah, no, I don't think the labels will go extinct necessarily. I don't think it'll be that simple. I think labels will evolve, and I think you're gonna start seeing. I think what you see with like quality control, what you see with Dreamville, what you see with all of these like labels that are not a super like a major the major label. They work under the major label
Yep.
are gonna be the places that artists go to because uh the reality of the situation is as much as we want to like talk about independence being this powerful thing, and it is, there's still a certain levels and certain kind of routes that are provided by having a company or a label. There's just still certain things that, and granted, you can do all that independently. It just takes a lot more time, and that's not a time that is necessarily afforded to everybody. Not everybody looks at it like they have that time. There's some kids that are, living day to day that they want to get on now. And granted, that might make it easier for them to be taken advantage of. But at the same time, it's the reality of living in real life. Some people need to make it now. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
can't I can't hate on that outlook because just because it's not me, somebody else has a whole different life. So I don't think the label will necessarily go extinct, at least as of now. I just think there'll be an evolution where they work more towards kind of just supporting artists rather than making artists. And I think you've already seen that switch, but it's more so just like the continuing of that, where it's just like, okay, this artist is popping. Let's just try and like get him even more up there, rather than it be like, oh, we're gonna take this and make an artist. Like that barely happens anymore. Kids are making songs in their room and popping off. So you don't the label. You know what I'm saying? Like kids
Yeah.
are making songs in their
Yep.
bedrooms, and then the label will come and act like they did that. Nah, like a kid did that, and you're just like, trying to, So that's what it is now. That's what it is.
I've heard a lot of horror stories with people signing the labels and they eventually leave because they want them to change their style and their sound. And it makes me
Right,
question, why did you even pick that person up in the first place? Why are you
right, right,
changing his
right.
sound if you really genuinely cared about the artist? Why did you pick him up in the first place if you want to change his sound?
I, 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 I don't really even have an answer, because it's like,
Yeah.
it's more so like it's kind of like, people. I think what happens there is that people sign somebody. They're signing people because people are telling them to. So it's like you're signing somebody because you saw the views. You don't even know who he is. You don't really care about his story. So
Yeah.
you're seeing dollar signs and you're seeing movement, but you don't really understand the actual movement or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're just seeing something moving and you want to be attached to it. And I think that's really the issue, is that a lot of times people just don't, the labels just don't get an artist. Like Big Crit is the perfect example of that. When he signed for his debut album, not only did they said, I think he said this, the person that he even signed to or signed him, got him over there. By the time he got in there, I think maybe 2 or 3 months, the guy was gone. He had left the label, and so he had nobody at the label to vouch for. Nobody understood him. It's like a yo. So why did I sign here? You're right, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those things where I think, that's really the reason why, that's the most important reason for people not to sign. It's not because labels are just the devil automatically, or that. It's more so, it's like, who are you signing to? Like, do they understand you? Do they get you? Right? And is everything in your contract, is it something that you completely understand? Or is it something where it's like, they're just like creating a situation where they can take advantage of you? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of that thing. But yeah, I don't understand why sign. I mean, it would make sense to just go sign somebody who you can mold, but I guess you don't. It's easier to just kind of pick somebody who's already buzzing, and try and do some weird stuff with them. I don't know.
Yeah. It's really just it's insane when you hear these stories. I'll give you an
Right,
example. A close friend of mine was an independent artist, signed a deal with, I don't know if it was necessarily a guaranteed deal. I really don't know the
right,
contract obligations and everything with that. But he was a lyrical artist and they basically tried to make him sound like the new era. People will
right,
say it's the trap artist, whatever the trendy mainstream, whatever you hear on the radio. And he
right,
wasn't having that because he said, that's not me. Why am I going to make this
right,
music? And
right.
he left the deal, so
Of
which was
course,
good
of
for
course.
him.
Right, of course. Now you can't. You can. I mean, and again, that's another if you go to uh, a label. Let's say you're like and granted, some people want to like I'm gonna use TikTok as an example. Some
Yeah,
people want to make music that works for them, and I'm not dissing it. I'm not saying it's like lesser music, but you know, there's some people that want to like make music that sounds like it could pop over there. That's absolutely fine. But like, let's say you're like the guy you're talking about, and you go to like a label meeting, and they're talking like, yeah, we think you could be like this type of TikTok artist that makes like the trendy. It's like, yo, like you don't even know who I am. You're not really even paying attention to what I'm doing. It's like a mischaracterization. Like you're not even identifying with me. You just see again a dollar sign or some sort of. I don't even know why you're coming to me as the
yeah,
person to do that. It's just a weird thing. So it's like I think those are all the reasons. If you're gonna sign anywhere, they have to understand who you are. If they don't understand who you are before any other this others me, they have to understand who you are and what you're trying to do. If they don't understand that, you have no business being there. No business
yeah,
being there.
yeah. There's no individuality anymore in the game
Mm,
either. That's something
right.
that's lacking. I think that's the benefit of being independent, is that you can be yourself and you don't have someone breathing down your neck to change your style.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think you have to just be in a position where you can just do what you want to do. If you, I can never relate to that. Like some people say that, oh, they had somebody telling them to make this type of song. Like the day that happens, I'll just laugh. I'm not even gonna like press be
Yeah.
unless like it's a situation where I feel forced to do something and it's almost like my livelihood is based on it, then that's not a laughing matter. But like if somebody told me, yeah, make this type of song, I just smile and be like, what are you talking about? Like you can't, like you don't get to tell, like it's it's not, that's not even how art should work. You know what I'm saying? Like and true artists of any sort or of any style should be able to do what they want. That should be the starting point, not like some compromise.
I
Yeah,
agree, man. I think
yeah,
independent is the best thing right now for people. It's just
right,
the
right.
matter of just building platforms and gaining that
Exactly,
notoriety, and then
exactly.
that's what you're doing, especially
Yeah,
with the Free Basement freestyle series and all
right,
that, your
right.
album and everything. You got a
Right.
lot going for yourself, so you're on the right path.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's just about consistency, man. That's the thing. Consistency win out in the end, and you just got to be consistent, even if it takes it's. But one thing I will say is, as much as the independent road is kind of like this super celebrated thing right now, I do want to make it clear for like just anybody, like it's not easy, man. Like that's the one thing I'll say. Like it's not all roses. It's not all there's a lot of money that you need to put in to yourself. There's a lot of money that you just lose over time until you start gaining. It's just like starting any business. You know what I'm saying? It's not this thing where just because you're independent, things are just gonna magically click.
Mhm.
So independence is a great road. It's a tough road and it's a
Yeah,
doable road, but it's one that is, I think, anybody that just believes in themselves should start on that road and see where things go.
yeah.
Yeah.
As an independent artist, what do you think is the most expensive thing that you have to pay for? Is it the studio
Um,
time? Because I know, like you said before, artists make
right,
their own tracks in their bedroom. Or is it
right,
the visuals for their music videos? Is it
right.
promo? What is the most expensive thing
I
that an
would I would
independent
say the
artist has to
last two
pay
things you
for?
said. Depending. I think every artist situation is different. I
Mhm.
think in some situations, you have your own videographer that's just grinding with you. In some situations, you have your own producer, your own engineer that's just grinding with you. For the most part, the music creation process is cheaper than it would be because I record my own stuff, I produce my own stuff. I don't completely mix everything. I have an engineer. His name is Matt Heath that I work with a lot that does most of the engineering. So
Mhm.
there's something there, but because a lot of like the beats and everything that I already do, that's cutting off a lot of costs. I barely pay for beats. I do it, but I barely pay for beats or for this feature or for somebody to record me. I've never made a song I've never recorded once in a professional studio. Not once.
Mhm.
The same free basement place that I made is the same place where I enjoy. Like it's not, that's not even studio time is a little overrated, and I'll say that because studio time, the benefits of studio time, I feel like are the social benefits of like being in a studio and somebody's at this room or any. That's a real benefit, and of connecting with people and the engineers and stuff. But the actual of paying for time to make music, I don't think that part is that efficient. Like imagine like they say you have 2 hours to do this. Like there's a certain pressure that puts on you to rush things. Whereas when you have time to just do whatever you want to do, you can spend as much time you need. You can try over again. You have more time for self discovery. Studio time is just you must execute or you wasted your money. So
Yeah, and
studio time
I
not
think
as
that's what we're
important.
hearing on the radio.
Right. Yeah. In some cases, I'm sure. So yeah. I think in terms of like for me personally, promo, obviously paying for promo, paying for placements, paying for all kinds of just promo. That's easily the biggest cost. advertising, paying for your YouTube advertising, Instagram advertising, Facebook advertising, all that is the biggest of costs. But yeah, like as an artist, I think it'll vary for different people, and you just need to know that it costs. Like, and anybody telling you that it doesn't cost, they're lying for the most part. Not to say that there's not some people that do well, go viral off of just putting out a video. Like that's great, and it does happen. But even for that person, for them to get to a certain level, it's still bread. So it's like, um, and that's again why just preaching independence is kind of like, it's important to me, but it's also like not everybody can just go independent because of the funding it takes. It makes sense why people sign.
Yeah.
It's just double-edged sword where it's like not everybody can just like come up with the funding to do that. It's not that simple. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, everything in those situations varies for different artists depending on the situation.
When did you move to Atlanta, Georgia? Because as people who may not know, you actually were born in Nigeria. Is that right?
I was actually, so I'm from Nigeria, but I was actually technically born in Japan. My dad
Okay.
was a diplomat. He was a diplomat, so it's like as a diplomat, you do a lot of things with foreign relations between countries, and as a result, you kind of like spend time in different countries. So I was born in Japan, then we went to Nigeria. I lived there for like 3.5 years, 4 years. Then he was stationed again in Belgium in Europe, and then I
Mhm.
lived there for about 3.5 years. Then I've been in the U.S. since. So I've been in the U.S. for now more than half of my life. Yeah, I've been in the U.S. for a long time.
Do you, this is probably going to be a long, in-depth answer
Nah,
to this
you good.
question. I'm gonna.
You
I
good,
think you know
man. You
what's
good,
coming.
man.
Do you
Right.
think? Do you think the United States is that great of a country? I mean, do you really think so? For being from other places around the world, is it really that great of a country that it's built up to being what everyone says it is? Because if you look at the healthcare systems in Canada and all these other countries, everyone's so more advanced than us.
Right. I think again, it's an answer that yes, there's a certain truth about America in that sure, America is in a certain extent is a place where you can come and become something in a way that doesn't quite exist in the same way in other countries to some degree. You know what I'm saying? There is some truth to that. The unfortunate thing about America though is that that truth has a kind of a side, like it's almost like you kind of take a little turn and you see kind of an even deeper truth that's not as bright as you think, and what you're talking about with healthcare. I mean, America in terms of healthcare is one of the worst compared
Oh
to
yeah.
most other first world countries in general. um, and especially as a like an African, you know we see America as like a land of opportunity, and you come with that mindset, and then I experience what it is to be black in America, and then I see a completely different side.
Yeah.
So it's like this two-faced thing where it's like, yeah, America still represents something to the rest of the world. America still has positives as a country, but behind the curtain is something a lot darker and a
Mhm.
lot different. So it's one of those things where like every negative, but especially when we're talking about something like healthcare that's so advanced in other countries, that's so America. It's almost like it's some sort of like it's not looked at as a right. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And all these other countries are talking about healthcare. It's like, yo, like everybody has the right to go see care. America is one of those countries that's lagging behind, and for that to be it's still a problem is mind-boggling to me. But that's how life goes. That's how life goes.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I hope things get better. We'll see. I
right,
mean,
right,
the guy who's in the White House is going right now is going to be gone soon. So I think
right,
things are, it can't get any worse. I think it's only going to get better from here.
right.
But I heard that you opened up your own show as a headliner in Nigeria. How was that
Yeah,
experience? And what
that
was
was
the
a great
process in setting
experience.
that up?
So it's yeah, it was just like a thing in my I lived in when I was in Nigeria when I was young. I lived in a city called Mina in Nigeria, and it's a city I went to school, everything, and our family knew some like radio people there, some music event like people there and promotional people there. And yeah, it kind of got set up, and I did like radio interview, a show there, and it was unique for the city at the time because I'm not sure they've ever done something quite like that. It's like a smaller city in Nigeria, even though it's a city, but it's not like a capital like the capital is Abuja or Lagos. Lagos is like a big place in Nigeria too. So those places, they have biggest concerts. They have people in Nigeria that are huge, people from outside of the country. But there, it's not like there's ever always a concert. So it was a really cool thing. Like a lot of people came out. I think it was I don't know the exact cap, but it was definitely more than 150 or something like that. Like it must have been, I think. But yeah, it was a great time, man. It was one of those things that I'm not sure I fully appreciate it because you were in it, you're busy, you're not really like taking it in. But it was one of those things that kind of like it was kind of like another stepping stone to let me know that like okay, this thing is possible, possible.
What songs did you perform there?
I've performed a lot of songs because this was a time where I hadn't released a lot of the new batch. So this was a lot of like my previous EPs. I had songs from the Purest release EP, like it was Wild Out, like Slide My Way, all these type of songs. They're songs that are still on SoundCloud. They're not on stream or anything, but they're still on SoundCloud. They're like fossils of my music history. So yeah, nah, but it was cool, man. It was cool, and it was one of those things where it's a learning process too. At that time, I wasn't as confident in myself, and those were the type of things that happened to build your confidence. So it was a great experience, and obviously, it meant a lot doing something from somewhere where you're at, somewhere where you're from, and somewhere where it's like it means a lot to those people, and it means a lot to me to like be able to do something like that. So
Mhm.
it was great, man. It was great.
Yeah. Have you performed in the United States before?
Yeah, I've performed
Yeah.
quite a few times. Not anything to a crazy level headlining show or anything that God willing will happen with this coming year. But I've done a lot of performances. I've done, man, I've done. It's one of those things where like every artist, and this is not like unique to me. You do the shows where it's like five people and four of them are on their phones. Man, you really go through the it's heartwarming in a sense because like man like how do you still believe when you do some of these like it's funny when you go down memory lane and you're like man I was at this place in like East Atlanta performing like 10 people in the crowd, people on their phones, and it's like just kept going, man. Like for some reason something in you kept going. So those are the kind of stories that like you know are the common thread, among artists in general. It's every artist goes through that, period. But yeah, I've definitely done some more shows where there's, of course, there were like 50 people and all this other kind of stuff. Some more I've done in Atlanta, I've done in Athens, um, and yeah, those are the two main places I've performed for the most part.
What were some of the differences in performing here compared to your headlining concert in Nigeria?
I think the main difference is more so that like in Nigeria it's more of a unique kind of situation where it's like it's not like an everyday thing, and it was a show that was headline based for me, and it was a different feeling. It almost felt like a event for the city type of thing. Not like the whole city was out for me, but it was like that. It had that kind of feel. Whereas in the U.S., I haven't had that kind of unique situation. It's been more so opening for other people and stuff, which has been great and very. But it's also a thing where like here and I'm making hip hop, and hip hop is more kind of more of the more popular genre here, so people are more understanding of it here, and it's two complete different situations, but to a degree I'm sure that I mean hopefully that will change over time type thing. I think it'll be different going forward, but no, it's been cool, and I just hope to perform more, man. I think COVID of course changed everything, but I
Yeah.
think hopefully this new strand isn't as bad as they're saying it is. Something happens, I'm hopeful, but I think with vaccines and everything, by the late by late 2021, I think you're gonna see shows coming back. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm hoping, man. I really
Yeah,
am. I just think we're already at the end of 2020, which was a hell year, and we're probably going to be quarantined and socially distanced and all that until the end of next year again. So
right. right. It's been a bizarre time in human history, man. It's one of those. I always tell people like, because I'm 26, like this year and the year before for me personally, but like it's like it's like a shifter. Like it's like one of those years where okay, this specific year my kids are gonna know about. You know what I'm saying? Even with
Yeah.
like with Kobe and everything, like just this year was something. It was very unique in the worst way possible, but it's a year that I will never forget for sure.
Yeah, I'm never gonna forget this year either. Kobe,
Yeah.
I think we should have all knew that there was something foreshadowing there.
Right. Right.
The fact that
Right.
him and his daughter went down in the helicopter, it's just like this is how we're starting 2020 off. You know that there's more worse to come then.
Yeah, man. It was man, it's one of those things, and yeah, like when I was talking to somebody about it. I was like, because I'm a big Michael Jackson fan, but when he passed, I was kind of young. I was like maybe 13 or something like that, and old enough to understand like, wow, this is sad, but not old enough to understand death in the same way. And I was like, yeah, this is the first celebrity death of this magnitude where I was just like, what is going like it's one of those ones where for me personally I was just like, man, like nobody's it's like nobody's immortal, man. No, like this life thing is fragile for every one of us. It's and I think 2020 just been a reminder of that across the board. As sad as that might be, even with Chadwick Boseman, it's been one of those years, man. One of those years.
It really has been. And Kobe, man, I think that's been the only celebrity death that's ever really hit me. Because usually when you hear
Right,
celebrity, it's old age or something
right, right,
that's
right,
expected. You never expect
right.
that. And I was in such
Nah.
disbelief when that happened. I still can't believe it. Because
Yeah,
you
man.
don't expect someone like Kobe Bryant to die. You don't.
Nah. It's bizarre. It's one of those people that you truly imagine him being like the old Hall of Fame. Like you truly see, like it's bizarre. You do never think someone like Kobe Bryant would go as early as he did. But unfortunately, with life, this life thing, it's not promised. It's not promised.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
isn't. I hope 2021. I hope things get better,
yeah,
but this new
man.
strain and
Yeah,
what they're saying, this thing's
bro.
is worse.
It's
I'm
a horror
reading the
movie,
articles
man.
on
It's
it.
a horror movie, man. I don't know, man. I think with this new strand, I am just hopeful. I am hopeful that because they're already saying that it's possible that it's more, it's more dangerous than the first version. And I'm just hoping for some reason it can spread as fast, or the vaccines that we'll be able to take for this first one might kind of have an impact on that, because this is about to be another, because if this trend is, it's a whole nother 2021 now. It's going to be quite similar. And I don't
Yeah,
know how much mental health wise, I don't know how people will be able to take it, man. Like I think even with schools and kids, like kids don't need to be like on Zoom, like 5-year-old kids, or not, well, not 5-year-old, but let's say like 8-year-old, 9-year-old kids on Zoom doing school. Like it's not sustainable, man. It's not even a healthy
yeah,
environment for kids to like learn. So it's a mess, man. It's a mess.
yeah. I couldn't even imagine being in kindergarten, especially like starting out when you
Bruh.
first get into school and starting on the
Right,
computer.
right,
And that
right.
had to happen this year for
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
A lot
yeah.
of kids.
Right, 100%, man. And it's yeah, man, it's just one of those things. But who knows? Hopefully things get better. And the way I like to see this though is I see COVID is, and I don't want to I don't want to be insensitive, because obviously a lot of people have died. I don't want to make it seem like, it's they've died for. I'm never the type of person like, oh, they died. It's not like that. But it's in the sense that like I think COVID is like a first step in like our understanding of kind of the new age of how like viral or viruses can spread for us and how damaging they can be. And I think because of this, I think we're going to be more prepared in the future for any other. That's the positive that I like to take from this. That this is like a better, gives us a better understanding. So when even more dangerous things come across, we're going to be more prepared, because the way we look at disease and everything is already different. Social distancing is not a thing we've ever really talked about or heard. Like it wasn't, but now those type of things are gonna be, not to say we're gonna do it for the rest of our lives, but it's gonna be something that's so much more common because of this year, you know? And I think that will hopefully save us lives down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With this new thing that they're saying is coming about with coronavirus mutating, they're saying that we're gonna have to socially distance 12 feet and wear 2 masks at once. That's what they're
Goodness
saying.
gracious. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. It's a mess, man. Man, it's tough, man. It's tough. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll see, man. I'm obviously I'm one of those people. People have different takes on it. I'm one of those people. Whatever needs to be done to limit people being killed, I'll do it. Especially since it's like it's not. I'm not one of those people that's COVID like I don't have a lot of risk factors or pre-existing conditions where COVID would crazy affect me on the surface. Granted, it affects people differently. So even me, it might do something to me that I wouldn't expect, but it's more so for the people who are even more at risk and susceptible that you want to like. And I think, especially us young people, we have to keep that in mind because it could be like, yo, I'll survive COVID, and
Yeah.
there's good chances we would survive and we do fine. But there's a lot of people that we love in this world that wouldn't, so we have to move like that, you know.
Yeah, I think it could end up that everyone gets quarantined back in the house again if this new strand comes about and just
Right.
tears apart the country. We're all going to be back in the houses. To be honest, I've been quarantined since the last week of February. I've only been out of the house maybe 8 or 9 times since the last week of February.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I haven't been really going out. I've been
That's crazy.
just been staying in the house because I don't want to
But
catch this thing.
do you think is there any positives that have come out of that for you? What's the positives, do you think?
Oh, continuing my shows, just keep getting
Right.
guests for the
Keep
shows and everything. Keep running it
right.
because I was like 2020 is going to be my year because I built so much in 2018 and 2019 with my shows. I said 2020 is my year, and I made it happen anyway.
Right, right,
Despite
right.
everything, I mean, I wish I could have
Right.
been in the studio. Would have loved to have you in the studio to freestyle. Freestyles have been
Right.
the negative thing because it's so hard to get artists to freestyle over Zoom and
Right,
the sound
right,
quality
right,
isn't good.
right,
But the guests have definitely gotten bigger and better show quality, and the
right,
visuals are even better because you can get the front on first person point of view. It's you can through Zoom. I think it's way better
right,
visually than being in
right,
person because
right,
if I'm back in the studio, I'm going to see the back of my head and only you.
right. Facts, facts. No, I get it. I get it. And but that's good, man. At least you've been consistent. At least it's always about turning like a negative situation into a positive one. So yeah, and I think I've done the same. I think I hit a different level of creativity because of it. You're inside by yourself. You have nothing to do but think of
Yeah,
ideas, you know? So I think artists, especially artists that are up and coming, I think this was the time and it will be the time for us to take advantage because I think people are open to new and more creative things than ever before in a sense because there's no going out, there's no the distractions in a way are less. Obviously there are always distractions, but I
yeah,
think in a way, even though I heard the streaming actually went down in some cases because people are not out doing stuff, so it's like they're not going to the gym as much, so they're not. In a way, it was weird. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's the truth. But at the same time, I feel like if you have some like crazy idea, I think the world is open to it. So yeah.
yeah. I think people, from my point of view, otherwise, I listen to a lot of music in this year 2020 being in quarantine.
Right. Right.
I mean, TV, sometimes you don't even want to watch TV because all it's on there is the negative and people passing away. You don't want to watch
Right.
that all day on the news.
Right.
It's just
Right.
dark. So you
Right.
turn the music. And I think rappers like you with the conscious rap, I think a lot of people started diving into that sound of music during this
Right.
time. And I think that's why
Right.
2020, you're starting to see more of that glimpse of hope for real MCs and lyricists out there because
Right.
it's music you can relate to. Not everyone can relate to the stack of cash they have, the cars, the
Right.
wealthy lifestyles and all that. And it's music that's relatable. And that's why you're here tonight, man, because your manager reached out to me. I mean, we've been in touch for a
Right.
while. I know Brian because
Right.
Brian went to St. John's and he was a member of WSU.
Right.
I
Right.
remember I remember getting hours when I was just starting at WSJU, and he signed my sheet off for me to get my show. And I knew him before
Right.
that because we had a class together. I think it was a social studies class or world studies class. I forget what
Wow.
exact class was that. And he told me when I was talking to him yesterday that he had you on his show for an interview, and then eventually you
Yeah, yeah,
developed
yeah.
that relationship in which he'd become your manager.
Right, right, right. Nah, I mean Brian a real one, man, and yeah, it works. It works in the world works in mysterious ways, right? The way you're just connected to people, and all of a sudden, when I first like met Brian, it was like early in the process. I made my first song. It was process, and I did that with his like a good friend, close friend, and he was managing him at the time. His name is Jay Spice,
Mhm.
and me and Jay Spice made the song Process, and this was like my first single I ever put out, and he played it on the radio show and everything. So I was just like, ah, thanks, man. And of course, it did. Like it still has. I think it still has my biggest numbers on SoundCloud to date. Like, and this was like in 2016, so it's like it's one of those things, and to go from that to being like him being my manager is kind of cool how like things can progress in that situation. And yeah, man, he told me about you. We've been wanting to do the show for a minute because he's told me about the show and everything. So I've known about it, and I was up in New York, and it was like we're trying to plan everything, but obviously things don't always plan out like that. But eventually, it all worked out. So I'm happy to be here.
No doubt. Yeah, I know. We've been in touch for a while. I wanted to make it
Right,
happen this week.
right,
I really didn't have too much going. And I said, you know what?
right,
Because I'm a man of my word. My word is bond. So I reached out to Brian. I was like, can you do tomorrow night? And he was like, yeah. I
right,
said, let's do it. Because
right.
my show doesn't stop. I don't care, man. And as long as you're
That's right.
talented and have some sort of purpose in making the game and music industry better, and you actually have a gift, you're on. Because
That's
I don't
real.
put a lot of people on that are independent because a lot of it's garbage. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Right, right,
You can call me a jerk or whatever you want, but I really care about artists who really care about their craft and really who are lyricists because I love that 90s hip hop and the early
right, right.
2000s when artists actually sounded authentic and had individuality, which we talked about in the beginning of the interview. And that's what you have. You have all of it. You can do the new sound too. It's just that
Appreciate that.
uh, I need the MCs back in that spotlight
Right,
with the
right,
new artists. Everyone needs to win. Stop kicking my MCs out the door. Stop
right,
throwing them in the
right,
background. I don't like
right.
that.
I feel you. I feel you. I think with everything, what happens in music is just everything goes in waves anyway. And I think there's waves of different things, waves of different subgenres. I think in the like late from about '05, well, really, let's say '07 to like 2009, 2010, there was a stretch of like the ringtone era.
Yeah.
And, people were probably thinking, oh, like people ain't going to be rapping anymore, all this type of stuff. And then you had, the blog era come through, and you have a bunch of the legends, people we consider legends now, were kind of like, kind of came out of that era. So it's like everything goes in phases, and every phase plays its part in contributing to the genre. And like you said, I mean, I think it's just a thing of like you want it's balance, and having a little bit of at least for everybody to get their shine as much as the others can get their shine. It's cool for people that are doing their lyrical stuff and putting the bars together to get their shine too, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So why'd you decide to go with your rapper name, Kolo?
Man, honestly, it's not even that deep, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a rap name, and I didn't really want to go with a rap name, man. I really, for me personally, I just couldn't. There was just nothing else. I've always liked my name too, so I've never been one of those people that I don't like my name. Um, I like my name. It's actually a very common name in West Africa, so if I was making music and I was like located in West Africa, in Nigeria or wherever, it probably would be something where I'd be like, okay, I do something different because there's a lot of people named Kolo, but in Nigeria and in the US, I felt like it's a name that stands out enough, and it's me, man. Like
Yeah.
I really couldn't think of or come up with anything. It was just more so like, man, it's me, man. So it
Yeah.
always felt natural for it to be my name.
Yeah, I think it's simple. It
Yeah,
represents yourself because it is your name. And
right,
I think that's going to get you further because everyone now it's either Young or Lil, and you throw some random name in it. But
yeah,
that's not it in this case. You know,
right.
I think you're going to go a long way with that name. It's unique.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, man. It's it's something I'm proud of, man. Like a lot of people be saying they don't like their name, and I've never related, man. People be like, "Ah, I don't really like my name." And of course, I went through the phases of when I first came to the U.S., man. Like so I went from like Belgium to rural Georgia,
Mhm.
right? So it's like a culture shock. But then on top of that, I'm like a new kid that's like a little different from everybody else. So I remember getting like the Coca-Cola jokes, the Marco Colo,
uh,
Rolo Colo. Bro, I was getting them jokes. And I always used to be like, come on, man. But it's funny, even through that, I never looked at my name like, oh, I want to change it or I'm embarrassed. Like, I don't know how or why. I've just always been lucky where I'm like, yeah, I like my name, man. So we gonna stick with it.
I think that was the
Yeah.
best decision that you made for yourself, and that's going to resonate. You're going to see that because a lot of artists today, as I said, have no individuality. They go with the Lil and the Young, and then they make $1 million. And the industry needs to change. You need the individuality back, and the style biting's got to stop. And I think that's going to eventually happen because I think a lot of people are going to start speaking out about that, and especially with independent artists being the main voice right now, because a lot of your big artists in the game are independent.
Right, right. Yeah, the shift is definitely happening, man. And I think that's the good thing about in the being independent too. It lends itself to people just doing what they want to do, right? Like as opposed to like being like pushed by a machine. It's like to some degree you're at the will of the machine in a sense. So yeah, I think you're gonna see the continuing of people just being individuals and doing their own thing. So yeah, man, that's definitely what we're trying to do. And yeah, man, I think we're gonna see this decade is gonna be really interesting, man. I think this decade is, even though people might not see it yet, it might be looked back on as the most important decade. Just because I feel like it's kind of like a turning point with like for example, people from the era that I like, Drake, Cole, Kendrick, they've been in the game like 10 years now.
Yeah.
They're like, people like Hove have been in this since like what, 96. Like a lot of the people we grew up on, like even if they're still relevant as ever, they don't have much to prove. So I think it's a very unique thing where it's like with
Yeah.
this new decade, it's just opportunities for young people to like take their spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get into your biology scholarship at Columbia.
Oh yeah. What's it called? This was 2018. So I did, or 2016. I graduated from Mercer University from Macon, Georgia. Shout out the Bears. And yeah, I applied to uh, public health programs because I was trying to get my master's in public health. I eventually got it from UGA in Athens, Georgia, but originally I applied to multiple schools and I got it into Columbia. I got into Columbia, New York. It was still kind of, even with the scholarship and stuff, it was still kind of too expensive, so didn't really go with it and everything. And I probably wouldn't be here because I wasn't rapping seriously or anything at the time. So
Mhm.
in that alternate reality, I'm probably not doing this interview. I'm probably not making music. So in a way, as cool as the story it is, I'm kind of glad that's not how the story went. But yeah, it's a cool thing, and it was an honor because Columbia's a pretty that's a high up there school, so it was an honor for sure.
Would you ever consider going back to school and taking that opportunity?
Um, I don't know. I think, to be honest with you, if I went back to school, I don't even know if I've even said this, but if I go back to school, I would probably just do something complete different. I think looking back in my life, I would probably have just been like do something in the therapy or behavior or that type of thing.
Mhm.
I would if I was gonna go back to school, I would do something and to do with therapy or just like whether it's just like counseling or just mental health in that kind of field. Um, if I were to, do I think I'm going to? I don't know. I to be honest with you, definitely for the foreseeable future, no. So it'd be something where I was old and I was getting bored or something, then I would, decide to do it. You know what I'm saying? I need a new
Yeah.
challenge. But as a young person, I've done enough school, man. Those student loans will kill you, man. It just stacks up, man. So I mean, school's great and everything, but I feel like if you're gonna do all that, you need to have like a direct use for it now, So,
Yeah.
right.
Anything else about the album, of course, that you
Yeah,
want
the
to mention? The
album.
last manifesto.
Yeah, last manifesto, man. Super proud of the project. I think it's a definitive, I think it being a project where it's not too many eyes on it, maybe looking back, people might not consider it a debut, but you can stamp this interview. I always consider it the debut album. It's a definitive album for me. It's album that really I feel like shows who I am in that um content wise, substance wise is a good introduction, but also in terms of like who I want to be as an artist. I like, I'm kind of similar to you in that my favorite stuff is the bars and stuff
Yeah.
and all that. But I'm not gonna lie, like I like a lot of the new ish. I like R&B stuff. I like a bunch of different things, and I think that's reflected in how I go about it. You know what I'm saying? So I'll always be a person that makes a variety of music, and I think the versatility that I displayed on it, on top of like what I'm talking about, how urgent it is dope. And I'm really proud of it. So yeah, man, it's one of those things I'm proud of, and we're just gonna keep pushing it, and it'll be something that I'll definitely make sure to remind people about as time goes on.
Yeah. Something that was interesting I heard on one of the songs on the album is that you sampled Tupac's Pain.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's you talking about the is it the wait, is the Get You Right song
I
or is
think
it the
so.
sample? It uses the same sample.
Yeah,
It's
Get You
sampled
Right. That's
by
the one. Yep.
it's the sample by Eric. The funny thing about that beat is sometimes you come across samples that have been because Cole used that in a song called Sea World as well.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of people use that sample, and I tried to use the sample and do like some bars ish to bar up, but the version of that I made didn't work, and that's why I turned it into more of like an R&B singing joint. So it's cool to take like classic samples like that and kind of give like your own twist and everything. So, but those both the songs that sample like the Cole song is fantastic, the Pac song is fantastic. So, just trying to like do my best version in a different way.
Who's your top five rappers of all time?
Ah man, the magic question. The magic. Um Man, okay. Who knows what it'll be going forward, but for today, um I'm gonna do Pac. This is no order by the way.
Mhm.
I can't order them. I'm gonna do Hove, I'm gonna do Nas, I'm gonna do I'm gonna do Andre 3000.
I
And
like that one.
this last one is gonna be very controversial among some people, but it's I can't help but do it. I'm gonna do Kanye. So those are my five, man. And I know for a lot of people, I don't know I mean, it'll be different reasons for different people with the Kanye one, but he has one of the best discographies ever to me, man. Especially when you're talking about from college dropout all the way till even with 808s, even My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy,
Yeah, that's my
always
favorite Kanye
pushing
album. My
My
Beautiful Dark
Beautiful.
Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, man. He has I don't think there's a first five albums as great as Kanye's in the history of hip hop. To me personally,
Mhm.
and that is something that I have to put you in the top five. So yeah. So yeah, those are the top five. I don't know if that'll change or anything, but for sure, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Devil in a New Dress was my favorite off of My Beautiful.
Goodness gracious, goodness gracious. Nah, Rick Ross, that verse is that's otherworldly right there, man. That's otherworldly. That's so appalled. That has even the intro, Dark Fantasy itself, gorgeous. Nah, man, that album is incredible. That album is incredible.
Yeah, that album is. It's. I think it's a classic.
Yeah, yeah,
I think it's a classic. That one.
right, for sure.
I noticed that you don't do too many features. Why is that?
Hopefully that changes, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Um, I think the main reason is because I just make a lot of music by myself. It's kind of like the process is kind of just yields the result that it is. So it's like I'm not really making music with a bunch of people. It's just me in my room or me in the basement. And I think the album and most of my music is reflective of that. I think going into next year though, that'll change a lot. I'll be branching out more. I'm not trying to be the guy that doesn't collab or oh you can't be on my that's it's not like it's not by design. That's all I want people to know. It's not necessarily by design. It's mostly by just kind of just how things go. And yeah, I mean, it's also one thing about life is your expectations change with when you have to rely on people or to do this or to do that. You're gonna get more disappointed because the unfortunate thing is sometimes people don't come through. These things happen, or people rip you off and all these other things. And I think it's also a defense mechanism for me, and it's something I have to like learn to branch out and take risks too, is that, if I just do what I do, I can just like, hey man, I'm not gonna be mad at me too much because even if I don't do it today, I'll do it eventually. And even if, you know, I can get mad at like maybe, oh, I'm not making as good a beat as I want, I'll never get mad at my effort because I know I'm working hard. You know what I'm saying? So relying on myself becomes easier because it's like being disappointed in myself is better for me than being disappointed or feeling let down that this person didn't come through. So I think it's also a way of me just being like, yo, I'm gonna just hey, if I sink, if the ship sinks, hey, at least it was just me. But going forward, I think that'll change. There's a lot of talented people there's a lot of people that I work closely with that Brian also manages that I will definitely be collabing more with that I collab with in the past. So nah, I think it'll be different, But I don't want to make it seem like I don't want to ever be like, yo, I don't F with people or it's just me, nobody.
J. Cole,
Nah,
like
that's
J.
not it.
Cole.
Yeah, well, and J. Cole's one is also like, I don't mind that in the sense of like having the pride in it, you control everything. And I don't mind the confidence in being like, yeah, man, like this is me. But I also the main reason why I don't want to do it is not because I'm embarrassed or anything. It's just because I don't want to give it out or put out that type of energy that like I don't mess with other people or it's like there's this like I don't do features because then people won't approach you and there's a lot of good things that can come out with collaborating with people. So that will definitely happen more in the future for sure.
Is there any collaborator or artist that you're looking forward to or want to do in the future?
Um, there's a lot. Um, there's a lot, man. I wanna, and it's not any particular artist, but one of my bucket list goals is I want to make an R&B album with like a woman R&B songstress that's like just out of here. It doesn't even have to be an artist I know right now. Like it's just an artist I want to write for them because I make R&B music, but R&B music is obviously not my focus. So I would love to just like focus on somebody else who really does the vocals and do that. Um, in terms of just artists in general, there's a lot of artists I want to like. It'd be great to work with Cole one day. It would be great to work with Benny. It'd be great to work with someone like Ari Lennox that's like makes like songs. I'd love to work with Kaylani. Um, love to work with just anybody, man. Roddy, just anybody. Like I'm fans of so many people that it'd just be a joy to work with. I'd love to also work with Mariah Carey. She's one of my favorite artists ever. So, um, in some magic universe, if I get to work with her, that would be I'd be the 12-year-old me would be over the moon to say the least. So yeah, for sure, sure.
How do you feel about R&B, the current R&B today?
Bro, I love it, man. I
Yeah.
love it. I think R&B I think I've liked R&B more than rap the last 2 years. and I love rap. It's not like rap is like been terrible for me personally. It's just more so like, especially like the women in R&B, like Snow Allegra, Ari Lennox that I named, Kaylani, Summer Walker. I feel like R&B is in a great space because R&B again is one of those things that I feel like there's balance again. Like there's people that are doing more alternative styles, and that, like if you're more traditional, then like Snow Allegra and Ari Lennox are like people that are making great projects. You know what I'm saying? If you want more of like the new school type vibe, Summer Walker is perfect for you. You know, so it's like I feel like it's just a great combination of things. You know, and the women are really killing it. And of course, I love the male R&B singers are dope as well. I think Tiller had a great comeback this year, personally. I like this project. Giveon is great. Brand Fayaz is great. You know, there's just a lot. R&B has not failed me these last 2 years, man. R&B has been great these last 2 years to me. Yeah, for sure.
Are you working on any other upcoming projects? I know you just dropped the
Yeah,
debut, so I
for
think
sure.
you'd want to let this soak in for a while. But with
Yeah,
the era
man.
we're living in now,
Right,
artists always have to be dropping things because the attention
right,
spans of people right now, listeners, are like the attention spans of a gnat.
right.
So are
Right.
you
We're
basically just
right.
gonna let this one soak in for a while?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I never feel under pressure from the consumer. Like I don't feel the need to drop a project because people might not be paying attention. I as artists, the funny thing is, now that I'm an artist, I look back at my the other artists and realize why people put out music is because even after this album, I have like a new batch over the last week that I'm excited about, and it's new stuff that you just want people to hear just because it's just new and you want to hear it yourself. Like it's the new, so it's the feeling of like having new stuff to give that in just general that is just kind of like a thing that excites you. So but you kind of have to just like understand that, like, yo, you have to like let things sink in. It's like my album is almost an hour long. It's 15 tracks. You kind of have to push it and do what you need to do. So I don't plan on doing any new like thing on streaming or music or for till at least the middle of next year. I'll focus on bringing free basements back, those freestyle videos, and then also just interweaving new music videos from the album, new content for the album. We have a documentary for the album coming very soon. I'll be dropping early
Oh, that's fire.
2021. Yeah, so we're just gonna do keep on pushing the album because if I'm gonna call it a debut album, I need to treat it like it's one. So just keep on, pushing it and make sure it's good. But man, I'm already excited about the new stuff, man. I can't wait. Like eventually over time, and I'll have like another album that will come out eventually beyond that. And just planning for the future is always fun. So, just push the album for now, but there'll always be something. These next 10 years for me are, I think the 10 years started in 2020. From 2020 to 30 or whatever, I have like a certain window in my personal window where I have to go crazy because I might have a kid one day and be like, forget this. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I plan it like that. These next 10 years, I have to go crazy. So for sure, there'll be a lot of content.
Any more upcoming visuals from the album that you have done?
Yes, we have an Infinity Bars video that will be coming soon.
Okay, yeah.
That will come in hopefully by early next year. Documentary early next year as well. There'll be other music videos from the album that we'll be planning and just getting out there. And then again, along with the free basement visuals, we just keep pushing things. And yeah, man, just keep on pushing the album, just the general for sure.
Yeah. Make sure everyone go check that out. The Last Manifesto available on all music platforms. Please go check that out if you like real hip hop, if you like the lyrics, if you like the poetic stuff that's out there from the 90s and everything. Go check that out. I think people are definitely going to be tuned in to
For
you,
sure,
Kolo.
man.
I think so because you can do it all. You're versatile and you take the lyrics to heart, and that's important
Right.
from a rapper nowadays because you don't see it as much. It's out there, but it's not getting the attention it should, and that's why I'm here right now to shed the light on that. And Kolo basically demonstrates that perfectly. Man,
Appreciate
I
it, man.
mean,
Appreciate it, man.
I want to thank you for coming on the show here tonight. Is there anything else that you'd like to let the audience know?
Mm.
Anything else?
No, I mean that's pretty much it, man. I would say that if they don't know, I'm on obviously I have to plug my Instagram and Twitter, just the usual. I'm on Kolo GG on Twitter and Kolo.24 on Instagram. Please DM me, or just if you want to talk about anything about, even if it's not about my album, if you want to talk about the music creation process, just anything, man. Like, I'm open to talk to people. I'm excited to talk music anytime. Just more stuff coming out, and yeah, I think just be tuned in for a lot of stuff. I have a lot of content in general coming out all the time. So if you're following, and you'll be well fed. So, and again, appreciate you having me, man. It's been a pleasure. I never take these type of things for granted, man. These interviews and everything, man. This is like, because I grew up as a fan watching my favorite artists do interviews and stuff. So anytime I'm doing interviews, it's almost like there's a certain like a kiddish smile on my face, because like, man, I used to be watching Cole do this. Like, I used to like treat like a Cole interview like it was like a PS5 for Christmas. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's really a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate you, doing what you do, and all the great content you provide.
No doubt. I appreciate it. Before I let you
Yeah,
go, I forgot to get into a little sports talk with you. Who are your
right.
sports teams, man?
Ah, man. Sports teams. Funny enough, I've fallen off on the NFL a little bit. I was a Giants fan for a little bit, so that's a funny thing. I'm not from New York or anything, but it was just I was like a fan of Manning for a bit. I wish them all the best though. Like, I wish Daniel Jones. I know he's been having some injury troubles. There's been some inconsistency issues, so I don't know, man. Hopefully they figure it out. But I'm not huge on the NFL, so I don't claim it as much, even though I watch it. But I'm not like the biggest. Oh, this is my team. Um, I'm a big soccer fan. I'm a Arsenal fan. I don't know if you know Premier League. They haven't been doing too well, but they're getting better. And then my favorite team on the NBA is I'm a big Curry guy, man. I'm a Warriors fan. So it's a new era. It started off 2-2, and it's definitely a new era. It's not like the same as it was exactly before, but it's cool to see them. It's cool just to see Steph playing again, and hopefully, it's just good to have, like, to be able to watch your favorite team play basketball again. So like, it's dope. Yeah, I'm watching the Warriors, and yeah, man. Warriors though, they already gave me a lifetime of,
Yeah,
if
you're
they run the
fine.
game in,
Yeah.
yeah, like if they, I always tell people, if the Warriors never win anything again, it's not ideal, but man, those 5 years are not normal 5 years. So it's like, I'll take it, man. Whereas with me with Arsenal, I'm an Arsenal fan,
Hmm.
and I started being a fan of Arsenal after like the 2 years after they won their last major trophy, and they haven't won. So there's like this, like, man, they got to get it done. You know what I'm saying? It's similar to how like a Knicks fan would kind of feel in a way, not exactly the same, but
Yeah.
longing for that trying to get to the top again. So, but yeah, man, big sports fan for sure.
Yeah. The Knicks. I'm
Yeah,
a
man. But
Knicks
Knicks,
fan,
man,
so
they have some.
I know what the bottom feels like.
Right, but they have some things to be excited about. Frank has been going crazy. I heard Randall had a good game the other day and stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
he
they
had a
got
triple
some.
double. Yeah.
Right. So I think with the Knicks though, not to like throw more, but I'll just say it. I think they have other organizational problems that have nothing to do with what's on the court. So
Yeah, I
I
think
think
so too. I think
that's really
Dolan's the root of the problem. They got to throw him. He's like the
yeah.
Trump of the Knicks. He's got to go.
Yeah, they have other hurdles that it really doesn't have anything to do with the players, So once they sort that out, maybe things will return to normal. But yeah, man, it's yeah, man, yeah. So Knicks, eventually over time, and sometimes you just need a little luck, man. You just get that one player, you know what I'm saying, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden and especially with basketball, especially because it's like five people on a court, one player can just change the direction of your franchise. So who knows, man? Over time, things happen.
Yeah, I hope that's soon. I hope that's soon.
Right,
What's
right.
your 2021 resolution and your biggest goal the new year?
I would say I have two resolutions. One, it would be uh organization and clutter. One thing about me is I'm not the most organized, and I can be a mess easy, especially like my room and stuff. One of the things I'll try and work on, and then also just working on not being overwhelmed is easy. I think sometimes like things that I have to do build up in my head, and it's even though I get them done, still it's easy for me to get overwhelmed very easily. And I think it's something that I want to work on with practicing, just being able to just relax and try to be calmer in the storm, because there'll always be stresses. You just kind of have to kind of weather the storm. And then the goal for 2021 would just be, honestly, it's just one word, just consistency. I think it's just about continuing everything that I set the groundwork with, that started in, I would say, started in 2019 with the free basement videos. I
Mhm.
think since 2019, the music thing has changed because I just started just being more consistent with videos and output, to a point where it was just every other week or every week I'd be doing something, and it's establishing that content that's uh consistently quality. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like, I think it's like, I would say it's like the Griselda kind of like way of going things. Like they put out a lot of stuff, but it's quality, So it's like having a certain type of like consistency. That's all for the year. Just being consistent and just staying down in the process. That's it.
Mhm. And you heard it first here from Kolo. Of course, anything else you want to let the people out there listening know? I know you mentioned everything before, but we forgot to get into the sports segment and
Right,
the,
right,
the
right.
New Year's resolution thing, of course. Anything else you want to let the audience know, especially where to
Yeah.
follow you on Instagram and Twitter?
Yeah, again, just Colo.24 on Instagram, Colo GG on Instagram. You can search the last manifesto or the artist name Kolo, Kolo, on all streaming platforms. I'm everywhere. Again, DM me about anything, or don't be afraid to contact me, even if it's not about my music, about music in general, about any general conversations. I'm open to anything. Yeah, man, I'm grateful for this thing called music, and I'm grateful for you having me, man.
No doubt. Shout out to
Yes,
Brian
sir.
for connecting us and setting this
Yes,
up.
sir. Yes,
You know,
sir. For
once you're
sure.
on it, you'll be welcome back again, of course.
For
So
sure. For sure. That's
anything,
great.
anything,
Thank you, man.
anything you got to promote? You got the documentary coming. You want to do another interview to promote that? We could do that. Anything,
Right.
man. Anything you
All
got that
right.
you need
For sure.
promotion?
For sure, man. I appreciate that a lot, and I appreciate you for having me, and for putting the good word in for me. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate
No,
you.
no doubt, Colo. Take care.
Yeah.
Stay safe. Have a happy and safe New Year, man.
You too, man. You too, man. I hope you have a great start to the new year. You take care.
You too.
All right. Take
Yeah.
care.
Take